My sister said she was happy. She said it so calmly I almost believed her. That was the worst part. Not the lie. The way she had practiced it. The way it came out smooth, like she had repeated it to herself so many times it had started to sound true. I was standing in her kitchen, holding a paper bag of groceries, watching her smile with that careful expression people wear when they are trying not to crack. She looked fine. That is what anyone else would have said. Nice house, clean counters, fresh flowers near the sink, a husband with a good job, a life that photographed well. But I knew my sister, and I knew that smile. It was the one she used when she wanted the conversation to end. "I'm happy, Nora." She said it again, softly, like I was the problem for asking. I nodded. I could have pushed harder. I could have asked the question that was already sitting in my chest. But I didn't. Not yet. Because once you ask the real question, you cannot go back. And deep down, I think I already knew I was going to hate the answer. I'm telling this now on Exposed Stories Media because some lies do not explode all at once. Some lies settle into a family like dust. Quiet, constant, covering everything until one day the light hits just right and you finally see how much has been there all along. My sister Ava was older than me by 4 years. Growing up, she was the one everyone noticed first. She was pretty without trying, confident without earning it, charming in the effortless way that made adults forgive things they would never forgive in anyone else. I was the quieter sister, the one who listened, the one who stayed in the background, the one people described as steady when they meant less exciting. That difference followed us into adulthood. Ava married young, not scandalously young, just young enough for the family to call it romantic. Her husband, Brent, was exactly the kind of man my parents respected instantly. Polished, disciplined, successful in visible ways. He worked in private wealth management, wore tailored jackets on weekends, talked about markets like they were weather patterns only certain people were educated enough to understand. My mother loved him. My father admired him. My aunts talked about Ava like she had won something. A husband like Brent, a house in the right neighborhood, a daughter, a clean, expensive life. I remember sitting at Thanksgiving one year listening to my mother tell a cousin that Ava had real stability. Then she glanced at me, not cruelly. That would have almost been easier. She just said, "Nora always takes the unconventional route." Everyone smiled. Like that was kind. What they meant was simple. Ava had built the life people could recognize. I had built one they did not know how to rank. I never married. I did not want to. I built a career slowly without making it a performance. I worked in corporate forensic accounting, which sounds boring until you understand what it really means. I looked for money where it wasn't supposed to be. I traced patterns. I found inconsistencies. I spent years learning how people hide things inside structures that look respectable from the outside. Most people hear the word accounting and imagine spreadsheets. That was fine with me. Underestimation is useful when you know how to use it. Ava used to joke about my job. Not directly. Never in a way anyone could call rude. She would say things like, "Nora can turn a dinner receipt into an investigation." People laughed. I laughed too. Because that was easier. Because families train you to cooperate with your own reduction. The truth is I did see things. I saw what people missed. I saw what they edited out of themselves before they stepped into the room. And when it came to Ava, I started seeing small fractures long before anyone else did. At first it was nothing you could name. A hesitation. A delay before answering a simple question. An odd glance toward Brent before she spoke. The first time I noticed it clearly was during my niece's 7th birthday party. It was warm outside. Too many balloons. Too much sugar. Parents pretending they were relaxed. Brent was outside by the grill, performing competence for a row of men who all wanted to look successful near fire. Ava was inside cutting fruit she had already paid to have catered. I asked her whether they were still planning that trip to Italy. She froze, only for a second. Then she smiled. "Oh, we pushed it." "Why?" She shrugged. "Timing." The answer was too fast, too light. A useless answer. People tell the truth in specifics. They lie in smooth surfaces. I let it go. But later that afternoon I walked into the mudroom to get my purse. Brent was there, talking on the phone in a low voice. He did not see me. I was only there for a second, but I heard enough. "No, move it from that account." Pause. I said, not in Ava's name. Another pause. Then, quieter, "No, she doesn't review anything." I stood very still. He turned as I stepped back. His face changed instantly. Not panic. That would have meant honesty. He just smiled. "Nora." I smiled back. "Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt." "No problem." He slipped his phone into his pocket. The conversation was over, but something in me had started. Not certainty. Not yet. Just attention. The kind that does not turn off. After that I noticed more. Ava stopped talking about money entirely, which was strange because she used to talk about it all the time. Not in vulgar ways. In aspirational ways. Renovation plans. Education funds. Memberships. Vacation properties Brent said they would buy eventually. Then suddenly nothing. When I asked casual questions, her answers got thin. "He handles that." That line came up again and again. Brent handles that. Brent manages it. Brent knows the details. Ava was never irresponsible. Spoiled, maybe. Image conscious, definitely. But not passive. She liked control, especially over things that reflected on her life. For her to step away from finances completely didn't fit. One afternoon she came to my apartment alone. That almost never happened. She usually preferred her house, her space, her visual advantage. That day she looked tired. Not messy, not dramatic, just drained in a way expensive skincare cannot cover. I made tea. She sat at my kitchen table turning the mug slowly in both hands. We talked about nothing for 10 minutes. My niece's school, my mother's blood pressure, a neighbor's divorce. All those family subjects people use like packing peanuts. Then I asked one simple question. "Are you okay?" She looked up, and there it was again, that careful smile. The one that said, "Do not come closer." "I'm happy." I held her eyes. "With Brent? With my life?" It was a good answer. Broad enough to avoid detail. Warm enough to sound offended by doubt. I nodded once. Then she said something I still think about. "Not everyone needs to understand everything." The sentence sounded casual, but it landed wrong, because that wasn't reassurance. It was defense. I didn't argue. I didn't press. But when she left, I stood at my kitchen window for a long time watching her walk to her car. And I realized something uncomfortable. My sister was not hiding ordinary unhappiness. She was protecting a structure. Something built. Something managed. Something fragile enough that one honest conversation could bring the whole thing down. A month later, my mother hosted Easter brunch. That side of the family loved holidays mostly because they provided clean opportunities to compare lives and soft clothing. Ava arrived late. Brent came 10 minutes after her, separately. No one else seemed to notice. I did. At the table, he played his usual role perfectly. Helpful, polished, attentive in public ways. He refilled glasses, complimented food, touched Ava's shoulder just enough for the room to register connection. It was a performance, a good one, but close observation ruins a lot of magic. Ava never relaxed around him. That was a new part. Not fear exactly. Something more refined. Monitoring. As if she was always half a sentence away from saying the wrong thing. Later my aunt asked about their daughter's school plans. Private or public? Brent answered before Ava did. We've decided private makes more sense. Ava glanced at him. Then smiled. Yes, that's what we're doing. He said we. She said that. Tiny difference. Huge meaning. After brunch I went to the downstairs bathroom. On the way back I heard voices from my mother's laundry room. Again Brent. And this time, Ava. His voice was low, controlled. The kind that tries not to look angry. You do not discuss accounts with your sister. Ava answered so quietly I barely heard her. She only asked generally. I don't care. Pause. Then this. Stop making me manage your emotions for you. I froze. My hand was still on the hall wall. There are sentences that tell you everything even if you do not yet know how to prove it. That was one of them. I stepped away before they saw me. Back into the living room. Back into family noise. Back into the version of the day everyone else was having. When Brent and Ava reappeared, nothing showed on their faces. And that frightened me more than anything. Not the tension, the discipline, the fact that this had become normal enough for them to switch masks that fast. That night I did something I had avoided for years. I started looking. Not illegally, not recklessly, just carefully, professionally, within limits. I wasn't trying to spy on my sister. I was trying to understand whether my instincts had a shape. People think finding the truth is about luck. It isn't. It's about pattern recognition. What repeats? What disappears? What has no reasonable explanation except deliberate design? I started with public records, property filings, corporate registrations, charitable disclosures. Things available to anyone patient enough to read what most people skim. At first nothing looked explosive. Brent was good. Of course he was. Men in his industry survive by making questionable things look ordinary. But ordinary has seams. And once you know where to look, those seams glow. The first inconsistency was the house. The home everyone associated with Ava's perfect life. I assumed it was jointly owned. It was not. It sat inside an LLC, normal enough for tax and privacy reasons. But the LLC traced upward into a management entity that was not connected to Ava in any meaningful way. Not even through a trust. Not even through a passive family office structure. Brent controlled it cleanly. The mortgage was structured through a lending arrangement with terms that suggested recent strain. That surprised me. The house looked liquid, comfortable, secure, but the underlying structure did not. Then I saw something else. 2 liens had been released within 18 months, both tied to short-term collateral events. Not catastrophic, but not signs of ease either. That was when my concern shifted. This was not just a controlling husband. This might also be a financial story. And those two things together rarely end gently. I kept going. There were transfers between consulting entities, one of which had Ava listed as an officer for a brief period. Only 7 months. Then her name disappeared. That mattered. People do not accidentally add spouses to business structures. They do it for reasons. Shielding, optics, access, tax positioning, or leverage. I printed nothing, saved nothing carelessly, just made notes, quietly, systematically. At work I have spent years looking at executives who insist everything is fine. They all sound different, but the structure underneath them is always familiar. Opacity where transparency should be easy. Confusion presented as sophistication. Someone powerful insisting the details are too complicated for the wrong person to understand. That phrase kept echoing in my head. Not really your area. Brent had said it once to me directly. I wondered how often he said versions of it to Ava. A few days later she texted me, "Can you talk?" No emoji. No cushion. I told her to come over. She arrived after dark. No makeup. Hair tied back. Sweatshirt, leggings, no jewelry except her wedding ring. That ring caught my eye because she kept turning it. Not nervously. Almost resentfully. I made tea again. This time she didn't touch it. She sat at my kitchen table and stared at the grain in the wood. I waited. Sometimes silence is the kindest pressure. Finally she said it. "If I ask you something," I said nothing. "If I ask you something," she repeated. "You can't make it bigger than it is." That sentence told me a lot. Someone had taught her to fear scale, to fear naming things, to fear escalation more than harm. I kept my voice steady. "That depends on what you ask." She inhaled slowly. "Can you look at something for me?" She took out her phone, opened a photo. It was a transfer confirmation. Not enormous by the standards of his world. Enormous by hers. It moved from an account in the name of an advisory entity into a holding structure tied to a property reserve. I studied it for 5 seconds and understood why she came to me. Not because the amount was impossible. Because the explanation was insulting. "What did he tell you this was?" Her eyes lifted to mine. "He said it was protective." Protective. I almost smiled. That word deserves prison sometimes. For what? He said it was a temporary move. Whose money? She hesitated. That's what I'm trying to understand. I set the phone down. "Did you sign anything recently?" A longer silence. Then a nod. "What?" "Some refinancing documents. School paperwork. Tax forms. A few things connected to the house." "Did you read them?" Her face changed. Not guilt. Shame. Enough answer. I kept my tone gentle. "Did he tell you not to involve a lawyer?" She looked away. "He said outside review would create problems." Of course he did. That was the moment my suspicion became form. Not certainty yet, but structure. He was using complexity as confinement. And my sister, who had always confused polished men with safe men, had stepped into a system designed to keep her dependent. I asked to see everything. Not everything later. Everything now. Her phone. Her email. Anything she had saved. At first she resisted. Then the resistance cracked. For 2 hours we sat at my kitchen table. And piece by piece the perfect marriage started to look less like a marriage and more like a containment strategy. There were account notices sent to an email she rarely used. Signature pages detached from full packets. Corporate amendments listing her briefly then removing her. Expense flows from joint lifestyle costs into entities she didn't understand. Language Brent had repeated often showed up everywhere. Temporary. Protective. Standard. Nothing to worry about. That phrase, "nothing to worry about," is the most expensive sentence some women ever hear. By midnight I knew enough to say something ugly out loud. "Your name has been useful." Ava stared at me. "For what?" "For credibility. For signatures. For positioning assets in ways that look domestic instead of strategic." She looked sick. "No." I held her eyes. "Yes." She shook her head immediately. Not because I was wrong. Because the truth was too fast. Brent wouldn't do that. I didn't push harder. Not yet. Because people don't leave a lie the first time they see it. They leave it in pieces. First the surface breaks. Then the loyalty. Then the story they have been telling themselves about who they married and what that says about them. She left near 1 in the morning. Before she did, she said something so quietly I almost missed it. "If this is real," I waited. "My whole life is fake." I wanted to comfort her. I didn't. Comfort too early becomes another drug. Instead I said no. She looked at me. Not your whole life, just the part someone built around you and taught you to confuse with love. The confrontation did not happen the next day. That would have made it too easy for Brent. Too emotional, too dismissible. Men like him survive by reclassifying women's clarity as instability. So we moved carefully. For the next 2 weeks I helped Ava organize everything. Not as a sister first, as a professional. Chronology, documents, account screenshots, signature dates, property structures, associated entities. We built a timeline, because stories can be denied. Timelines are harder. The more we assembled, the clearer it became. Brent had used Ava's image of domestic credibility to support loan positioning and asset movement, not in ways flashy enough to attract immediate law enforcement. He was smarter than that, but definitely in ways that exposed her. If one structure failed, if one lender reviewed too closely, if one dispute surfaced, her name would not protect her. It would implicate her. That was the ugliest part. He had built risk around her and called it provision. Ava changed during those 2 weeks. Not dramatically, more painfully than that. She became quieter, but not weaker, more exact. Like someone relearning the shape of every room in her own house. She stopped saying Brent handles that. Stopped saying we decided. Stopped saying things were easier this way. Language matters. Sometimes the first escape is grammar. The final proof came from something Brent never expected her to question. A trust memorandum tied to their daughter. He had described it for years as future planning. Education. Protection, legacy, normal rich man vocabulary. But when Ava finally requested the full paperwork, he stalled. Twice, then sent a summary instead of the actual instrument. That alone was revealing. So I had a lawyer I trusted review the fragments we had. Not a friend, not someone dramatic, an actual specialist in asset shielding and marital exposure. By the end of the meeting, she leaned back in her chair and said one calm sentence. Your brother-in-law has been building control around dependency. Ava didn't cry. I did not either. Sometimes grief becomes too technical to produce tears. The lawyer continued. The trust terms, as described here, leave your daughter protected in appearance, but operational authority remains heavily consolidated around him and a management structure he controls. Ava stared. What does that mean? It means if you ever leave him without preparation. The lawyer paused. He is positioned to make you look unstable, uninformed, and legally peripheral. That sentence ended whatever loyalty Ava still had. Not because of the money, because of her daughter. Women endure a lot for themselves, far less for their children. The confrontation happened 3 nights later. At the house. My house, technically at least for the next few hours, because Ava did not want to face him alone. I came over after my niece was asleep at my parents' house. Brent walked in from a client dinner and stopped when he saw me in the living room. Ava was already seated. No wine, no TV, no attempt to soften the atmosphere. That alone told him this was different. He set his keys down slowly. What's going on? Ava looked at him. Not frightened, not angry, just finished. We're going to talk about the entities using my name. His face changed almost imperceptibly. Not to shock, to calculation. That told me he had always known this day might come. He just assumed he would control its timing. Brent looked at me first. Not her. That also told me everything. I don't think you should be here, I answered calmly. I don't think you should have been moving assets through your wife's signature history. Silence. Then the performance began. He exhaled, smiled faintly. The patient man's smile. The one designed for judges, board members, donors, and one who confuses tone with truth. This is exactly why people who don't understand complex structures. He started. Ava cut him off. No. That one word stopped him cold. She had never interrupted him like that before. Not once in front of me. Not once, I suspect, in private either. No more telling me I don't understand. She pushed a folder across the coffee table. Inside it was the timeline, transfer records, corporate filings, signature dates, property links, the trust notes. Brent did not touch it. A man avoids documents only when he knows the documents are stronger than he is. You've been using my name, Ava said. He stayed calm. For our family. You've been exposing me. That's not true. I spoke then. Forensic review says otherwise. He turned sharply. You conducted a review? No, I said. I recognized a structure. A lawyer reviewed exposure. That was when he stopped pretending this was a marital misunderstanding. Now it was professional. Now he had to adjust. His voice got cooler. Do you have any idea what would happen if you blow this up? There it was. Not denial. Threat framed as concern. Ava heard it too. She looked at him for a long moment, then said the sentence that finally broke the room. You are not worried about what happens to us. She paused. You are worried about what happens to you. For the first time he had no immediate response. Not because he lacked one. Because it was true. The next hour was ugly in the quiet way adult devastation usually is. No screaming. No shattered glasses. Just truth after truth stripping the language off a life. Brent admitted enough without confessing fully. That is another rich man's skill. He described manipulations as efficiencies, positioning as protection, control as stewardship. He called Ava emotional exactly once. That was a mistake. She stood up and said, do not use my confusion as evidence of your superiority. I had never heard her speak like that. Neither had he. By the end of the conversation she made 3 decisions. She was leaving the house temporarily. She was freezing every accessible joint line immediately. And she was petitioning for a full review of all structures tied to her name and to their daughter's future interests. Brent laughed once when she said that. A short, disbelieving laugh. You think you can do that now? Ava looked at him with a stillness I had never seen in her before. Then she answered with the only line that mattered. No. She glanced at me. We can. That was the twist. Not hidden wealth. Not a secret building deed. Not a dramatic power reveal. Something real. More dangerous than that. She stopped being isolated. He had built his power on her dependence. The moment she had informed help, legal, financial, emotional, his system started collapsing. The aftermath took months. That is the part these stories rarely say plainly enough. Truth does not end things quickly. It reorganizes suffering. There were legal meetings, temporary custody schedules, property disputes, emergency financial protections, a forensic reconstruction of several entity relationships. It was not cinematic. It was exhausting. But reality has its own kind of satisfaction, especially when systems built to intimidate have to survive daylight. Brent's professional life did not explode publicly. Not at first. Again, he was careful. But certain deals stalled. Certain partners backed away. Certain questions began following him into rooms where he used to move easily. People like Brent do not always fall because of one criminal revelation. Sometimes they fall because respectable people stop finding them worth the risk. Ava moved into a rental for 6 months. Smaller place, less polished. No curated kitchen, no visual proof of success. And for the first time in years she slept. Not perfectly, but honestly. That mattered more. Our family took it badly at first. Not because they loved her less. Because they loved the story more. My mother kept saying, but they seemed so happy. My father asked practical questions as if logistics could save dignity. My aunt wanted to know whether counseling might still help. Nobody asks women whether their polished life is safe. They ask whether it is salvageable. That difference makes me tired. Eventually, the facts became too heavy to decorate, and the family adjusted the way families do, slowly, in embarrassment, without fully admitting how much they had preferred the fantasy. Ava and I changed too. For years, our relationship had been shaped by comparison. She was the visible success. I was the quiet one. She had the enviable life. I had the unglamorous competence. Then one day, the skill everyone had dismissed in me became the thing that helped save her. We never had a sentimental conversation about it. That would not have fit us. But one night months later, she sat in my apartment again. The same kitchen table, same mugs. No defensive smile this time, just tired honesty. She looked around and said, "I used to think your life looked small." I smiled a little. "I know." She shook her head. "It wasn't small." She paused. "It was yours." That may have been the closest thing to apology either of us had ever given the other. If there is one thing I want people to understand from all of this, it is this. A lot of women are not lying when they say they are happy. Not exactly. Sometimes they are repeating the safest version of reality available to them. Sometimes happy means no immediate explosion, no visible bruise, no new humiliation today. Sometimes happy means I can survive this structure for one more week if nobody asks me a direct question. But truth waits. Not dramatically, patiently, in signatures, in missing documents, in the tone someone uses when they say you don't need to worry about that. My sister said she was happy, and maybe part of her needed that sentence to remain true for as long as possible. But I saw what she was hiding. Not because I was wiser, not because I was colder, because I had spent my life learning the difference between what looks stable and what is built to control. The strange thing is, the real happy ending did not begin when Brent was exposed. It began when Ava stopped protecting the illusion at the cost of herself. Because once she told the truth, everything got harder, and everything got real. Sometimes that is the first honest life a person has ever had.